Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin, and welcome to my channel where I discuss books. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Today you've clicked on my video for a reason. You want to see my best and worst books that I've read, that I can remember, that are stuck in my memory. The best and worst books. So, that's what we're going to discuss today. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, maybe give this video a comment. If you don't, feel free to leave a hate comment, because as my professors once said, all press is good press as long as you spell my name correctly, and that is Caitlin. Thank you. Have a nice day. Alright, so I figured we could do this in an alternating order. I want to start out with something that will probably come to no surprise to anyone who has watched my previous video, my Books of 2021 video. You will know that this year, for me, was the year of Brandon Sanderson. I truly adored his books this year, so it wouldn't feel right if I didn't include the Stormlight Archive on this list. And I couldn't just pick one, so I chose one to represent them all. And I chose this one because this is the, I don't know, it's a pretty cover, and it's a full-size Big Mama, and it's beautiful, and I love it. I really love this book. I love how it follows a really large and strong cast of characters. I love the themes around how we can all help one another, and how at the end of the day, we're not maybe so different from the people that we hold ourselves as opponents to. And I just really enjoy this series, and I really enjoy the way Sanderson depicts mental health, especially in Kaladin. I really identify in Kaladin as a character. I love the Stormlight Archive so much. It's really too much for me to handle sometimes. Yasna Kholin is my idol. I want to be Yasna Kholin when I grow up. I wish I could be Yasna Kholin when I grow up, but unfortunately I cannot. I hope that I'm not spoiling anything for anyone, because spoilers, she's technically supposed to be dead, but she comes back in Oathbringer, and icon behavior, right? I really enjoy how expansive the world is. I enjoy how fleshed out all of the characters are. I enjoy how long these books are. I devoured them, and I just look for books like this that I can latch onto and attach myself to the characters. And that is exactly what I've done with the Stormlight Archive. I love them so much. It's not even funny. If you haven't picked a Cosmere novel up, I say you start with the Mistborn trilogy, then you pick up Warbreaker, then you break into the Stormlight Archive, and have a beautiful time doing it, because it truly is no other to me, in my opinion. I truly love this book series, and I think Brandon Sanderson is just, he's so, he's such a way with, I would say words, but even more, when you get into the Cosmere, you realize how connected it all is, And Hoyd, such a character. Anyways, I could go on and on and on, nonsensical about the Cosmere novels, but you should definitely read them if you haven't already. I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother probably has, but I'm establishing my dominance in loving Brandon Sanderson right here, right now, and early, because I love him. So that's that on that. Now, on to our first worst books. And this is a book that I read this month in October, and I haven't talked about it on the channel yet. I wanted to kind of save it for a vlog, and we'll save extensive thoughts for the vlog, But right now, I'm gonna sit and rant about it for about 3 minutes because that is what this video is for. And that book is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Boy, do I have so many things that I just have so many issues with this book. And this is just me, you know? I feel like I went into this, it was hyped all over the place. Everyone says, you know, if you don't like The Secret History, pick up If We Were Villains, because like that is what The Secret History tried to do and like couldn't. And I read the Secret History. I didn't like The Secret History, okay? Like, I'm not a Secret History fan, but I am also not an If We Were Villains fan at all. I find it so pretentious. I am so sorry if you're like a massive If We Were Villains fan, but like I fucking hate Shakespeare, and maybe this is just my fault in reading this book, but I hate Shakespeare. And these motherfuckers talk in Shakespeare verses. What the fuck? Like, I don't fucking understand you. And even if I did, you're fucking pretentious. Like, speak fucking so everyone can understand, please. I hate how they fucking speak in Shakespeare. And again, like, I am too puny brained to understand the Shakespeare, and I understand that, okay? I get it. But like, I should never have read this book because like it just was not for me. I found it so pretentious instead of reading the Shakespeare and connecting the dots and making them being able to make these connections, you know. And on top of that, I found the entire storyline and plotline just completely predictable. The entire time, spoilers, I knew that the killer was James the entire time. It was pretty evident to me the way he was distancing himself from, I don't even remember the main character's name. I don't even remember his name. And I read it like a week ago. The way he was distancing himself from the main character, you can tell the way he was just becoming unhinged, okay? And maybe that was supposed to follow whatever fucking King Lear or Hamlet or whatever the fuck they were doing, Macbeth, whatever it was. I don't care. To me, and this is my opinion.
That's my opinion!
You should be able to both get your point across to the target audience, but then also have your book make sense to someone who reads it in an off shot. And I get like, I'm definitely not the target audience, but it also didn't make sense because it was all predictable. And then these fucking jackasses are just talking about Shakespeare and getting fucking drunk and high, and like that's the only part that I liked, maybe, was when they were drinking and smoking, and that's about it. That was the only fun I had in this book. I really didn't like If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and maybe that is because of my small brain, but I don't care. I feel the need to talk about it because everyone always talks about how good this book is, and I just do not agree. I don't agree whatsoever. Next, in my favorite books that I can think of right now, I'm going to pick out The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I love N.K. Jemisin as an author, but I chose The City We Became for a reason. I just really love this book. I love the audiobook for this book that much more. And I think for me, because I'm a huge consumer of audiobooks, it made it that much better of a reading experience for me. Because like this book I know is really hit or miss for some people, but it was such a hit for me. And also, I grew up in New York my entire life. I'm an hour outside of New York City, upstate, not on Long Island. And I just really loved seeing the city being talked about in this manner, and it really injected this life and breath into it that you can sense when you're in the city. And she really captured it in this book, and she definitely captured it in the audiobook. And I highly recommend, if you haven't picked up an audiobook, you should start out with The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, because it's captivating. It is absolutely a ride, a rush. You know, I remember, I can tell you exactly where I was and what I was doing while I was listening and reading to this book. You know, I can tell you that I was shoveling snow outside this winter when I was listening to this book. And I can like tell you the scenes that were going on as I was shoveling. Like, you know, these are the things to me that mark a good novel, mark a memorable novel, is when I can pick out these moments in my life and be able to, you know, pick them out and reminisce and look back on them when I look at a book. You know, not every book is like that. Not every book is something that you can look at and really remember and reminisce on what you were doing and what was happening and how you felt. And that's how I feel with this book and with this audiobook, and I absolutely adore it. And I highly suggest that if you haven't checked it out, you really should. If you don't want to get it on Audible, get a library card. If you have a library card, get the Libby app, or look if your library has a Libby or OneDrive, something like that, and see if they have it on there. You know, if not, see if you could find it somewhere on the internet. You know, find it. It's so good. I maybe don't recommend finding it illegally on the internet, because then, like, the people don't get paid. But, like, please try to find it, because it's really just a delightful story, and I can rave about it all day, and I want everyone to read it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And I can't wait to see where this, because I believe it's a series, where this is going to go, because I think the premise for it, with the personification of the city, is just really cool. And I would love to see, we've seen, I believe, Sao Paulo. I would love to see, you know, us set in different cities. So, next up on our worst book list, this one is controversial. And, you know, you may be thinking that I'm gonna say one book, because I'm talking about how controversial this is, but I'm not. What I'm going to say is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. And I have some problems with this book. I never read past the first City of Brass, but I really didn't like it, and, like, also felt the characters to be very one-dimensional and very flat. Let's see. I don't even remember the male, like, that male fairy's name, or I believe he's a genie, actually. I really apologize. It's been a really long time since I've read this book, and I refuse to look it up because I hate it so much. Not the prince, because he was the only character that I could tolerate in this novel. The girl's love interest that got her out of Cairo. Yeah, the girl, the one-dimensional thief in the first novel. Sorry if she, like, gets better moving on. I just truly can't stand this series for some reason. Like, it just, you know, certain things strike chords with certain people, and this did not strike a chord with me at all. And it gets me a little upset when I see so many people pushing it on so many people, because it just seems like there's no dimension to the story. You know, there's really only, at least in the first book, it felt like one thing going on in everyone's life, like one thing was happening, right? And it's just, there was no dimension, nothing, there was no depth to any of the characters. The main love interest was a psycho-violent man, and you can tell from the beginning that he just wasn't quite it. And I just really didn't like this book, and it rubbed me the wrong way. And last, for my best books that I can think of, is The Deep by Rivers Solomon. And boy, do I think this book packs a punch. If you haven't read this already, I really think you should. I don't see a whole lot of people talking about Rivers Solomon on their channel. You know, I've seen Read with Cindy talk about Rivers Solomon. I've seen Kat talk about Rivers Solomon. I haven't seen many other people talk about Rivers Solomon, and their work is just A+. This is just an example. I think this is their most impactful novel because of how small it is and the premise of it. I don't want to say too much because I think it is best to go into this novel not knowing a whole lot about it. But what I will say is it's about when African women were pregnant on the slave ships and they were thrown over the side of the ship. Their interpretation of this is, what if these women went to the depths of the ocean and became mermaids, and their offspring became mermaids, and how this would affect the mermaid tribe and how they would go forward with this trauma. And it's truly, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because I truly don't want to say too much. It's a very important book, I think. And if you haven't read it, I really suggest you do, because it's really not that long, but it's so captivating. It's so important. It's so different from anything you've probably read, but it's not some sort of whimsical take on what I just said. It truly dives into how it affects these mer people in the future. And I just truly, River Solomon has a way with words. So check out The Deep and check out their other book, An Unkindness of Ghosts, as well. But The Deep is the one that's on this list. So yes, River Solomon, amazing job. I cannot wait to read more of their work in the future. And lastly, this one I can truly go on for hours and hours and hours ranting about how angry this book makes me feel. I truly hate it. Not to be that person, but I truly do. It's Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I absolutely despised this book. As someone who constantly deals and suffers with depression and other mental illnesses on a daily basis, I really hate the way this book is portrayed. And I also can say that while understanding that this is how he can, deal and portray his version of depression and his own mental illness. Because truly, everyone's is different, right? But that being said, I absolutely hated it for me personally. I despised it because at the end of the day, to me, what's the point of going through? It's like, I don't want to be dragged through all of these fucking books, because at the end of the day, she didn't like any of these fucking other lives either, right? She didn't enjoy any of the other lives either. Like, at the end of the day, that shit would have made me more depressed and more upset. That wouldn't have said, oh, I need to go back to my own life. Let me turn it around. That would have said, yeah, I'm really ready to go out the door now. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to go and see what the other side is like. And that's how this book made me feel, quite honestly and truly, deep down in the core of my soul. I really don't like Midnight Library, and that's my opinion. To me, again, my opinion seemed like a book that was packaged up for people who want to understand what depression is like but don't have depression. And I get that this is, Matt Haig deals with depression on his own. This is his portrayal of depression. Fine, that's super valid, and I hope that other people can relate to this book and find it better than I. But that being said, I fucking hate it. I despise it with all my heart. I don't think that he's very good, or this book at least, he wasn't very good at writing a female character. I just didn't feel any sort of connection to her as like a woman, and that bothered me too. Write a fucking male character. I want some depth. We're talking about a story about mental illness, about depression. I want some more depth besides what I was getting. I would rather read from a male character with depth, if you're able to write and relate to that more, than a female character with no depth to pander to an audience, to be quite honest. And that's how I feel like Might Hike did. And that might be really controversial. Okay? It really might be. But that's my opinion. And that's how I feel. And that is that. And I feel like maybe a lot of people agree with me, because I know I'm not the only person who disliked this book. All right, everyone. With that being said, those were my top 3 and bottom 3 books. If we were on America's Next Top Book, those books would be chopped. They did not have the writing, the characters, the world building to stay in this competition. And I only have 3 photos left in my hand. And they are not of those bottom 3 books. They are not. They are of the top 3 books. They are of The Deep, The City We Became, and the entirety of the Stormlight Archive. And that's that, folks. That was today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Caitlin. If you, like I said, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment, maybe. Maybe subscribe to my channel. If you didn't enjoy it, dislike the video. Leave a really creative hate comment. I really would like to see a creative one, though. If you're going to leave a hate comment, make sure that it really packs a punch. You know, it has to be creative. As my professor said, all press is good press as long as you spell my name right. So make sure you spell it Caitlin. I hope you have a great day. Peace and love. Goodbye.